Solar Panel Podcast. We appreciate you joining us on the podcast, or if you are live with us on YouTube. By the way, if you're watching live on YouTube right now, go ahead and send a comment or a question. We will make sure that we get it into the show. As always, myself, Tim Tompkins, Greg Esposito, and Dave King. But today, gentlemen, we are finally joined by possibly the most positive Suns fan I have ever met in my entire life, Mr. Jon Bloom. Thanks for joining us.
Man, it's tough to stay and keep that moniker these days, Tim. But thanks for having me, guys. Also, I can honestly say when Espo and I used to do the age-old Fodcast, we never lit it up at about 7 a.m. on a weekend. We never even tried that. But when I'm up on the weekends and you guys are doing these early morning podcasts, it is such a great thing to be able to sit in my backyard and either watch you guys or I just usually listen. But it's great to be with you. And we actually had an event take place. So there's some timeliness to my appearance, I guess.
We had a live event happen, didn't we? Unbelievable, with basketball players moving and scoring baskets and stuff.
Hey, let's not.
It's pretty incredible.
Let's not overstate it. It wasn't real basketball players. Come on. No.
Let me tell you though, and let's just pull the covers off on this. It was that the Suns have been doing these NBA 2K games with different players, and yesterday was Mikal Bridges playing against the Sixers for the Suns against the Sixers, and I've tried to watch those 2K games, and for me, that's not my genre. That's not my realm. I know you guys are big on the video games, but I am absolutely not. It looks so weird and so hard to watch. I haven't been able to do it, but by God, last night on 98.7 FM on Arizona Sports, I tune in after I go on my one time out yesterday, my one time leaving the house. I went up for a walk in a secluded area. And as I'm driving home, I hear Jon Bloom and Tim Kempton on the radio calling a Suns game. And because I didn't have to watch that crap, it was enjoyable to the max. I listened the entire hour. It was so fun. So tell us about that experience, my man.
Well, thanks for listening, and it was definitely not an anticipated night on the calendar for either me or Tim Kempton. I think Tim was a little bit more of a fish out of water than I was.
It took you guys about 10 minutes to warm up, and that was unfortunately about half the game. But
I know, because it goes so fast. I mean, you have no breaks. There's not really a chance for a conversation, even like in radio calls of a normal basketball game. It's very fast, and you don't have a lot of time to talk back and forth with your partner unless it's free throws or you're coming in and out of breaks. And we didn't have breaks, and the free throws are lightning fast. You can't. I thought I was going to get a break when they went to the free throw line, but you don't, because they shoot it like bang, bang, it's over. No, it's not. So, and I've played 2K. I've used it as kind of a training tool for getting ready for games this year, which has been fun because my kids have a Nintendo Switch, the little like handheld thing. So I play on that. I'm not an Xboxer. The latest I got in gaming systems was PS2. Still have it in the garage. I need to fire it back up. I also have my Sega Genesis still. I still have my Intellivision somewhere in the garage. I need to dig it up. But, I go way back with video games because I've always kind of used it as an escape. So for me, when they asked me to do this, it was an absolute no-brainer. I was so jacked up. But also, I was like, I don't know how this is going to go. Right. I mean, I'm watching my kids. I'm making food. That's what I'm doing. I'm the chef here at the Bloom House. But I looked at it as a great opportunity to escape, for sure, for not only me, but for fans, because we just need something that's new that we can get into. I know we're watching classic games. I'm sure you guys have tapped into that, or we're watching highlights, or we're looking back at history. But I think there's only so much of that you can do to still kind of conjure up that feeling of being a fan. So, maybe last night people got into it. I found myself getting into it, rooting for Mikal to whoop Matisse Thybulle and beat the Sixers. And, fortunately, he did. And it was was an entertaining product from a standpoint of watching a battle go back and forth. We actually had a competition. Looked at one point like Mikkel was going to run him out of the gym, but he came out strong in the third quarter. So it kind of, and even Tim, I could hear Tim getting into it too. He didn't know what to expect. His kids play 2K, but he's not a gamer. So it was a great opportunity for us to get into a situation where we actually felt like we had a gig. We had something to do. I love the fact that you guys have kept doing the solar panel, and I know it's not easy when you don't have basketball to talk about. So, that was just kind of something I'm going to look at as a gift that during these ridiculous times, I could actually bite something off and chew it up a little bit and feel like I was getting it done.
Well, so did you ever imagine that you'd make history as a broadcaster, but it would be because of video games? Because you guys became the first broadcast team to ever broadcast a 2K game on radio, and I found it hilarious because I got a push notification from ESPN last night letting me know that you guys made history. Did you ever imagine that you do that, and how'd this whole thing come about for you guys?
I didn't. I didn't think that I was gonna. Let me fix this real quick because I think it. Hopefully that's better.
Actually, aim it up higher. That's actually worse.
Aim it up higher. We can see the top.
Hey, there's Jon Bloom.
Yay.
All right.
There's a
So,
what she said joke in there somewhere.
Oh yeah. Anyway, back to the historical.
What she said. Wait a minute.
Hey,
speaking of what she said, really quick, because we're all social distancing and everything like that, or just staying amongst our little families, or not at all, if our families are grown or we don't have any around us. Someone tweeted, if there's a baby boom out of this, it's all going to be firstborn children.
Hey, well, thanks, Dave, for taking us off the tracks. That's your off the track moment
off the track
of the show.
No,
now, John,
so that's what she said. Is only where there's a firstborn child at play.
So John, history.
I think Dave did something about. Well, let me just tack on to the off the trackness here. I think Dave's onto something. He might be on something, but he's onto something in a way where families are expanding. I'm telling you, there are people in my neighborhood, like their kids have come and visited me. I have a 9-pound cockapoo, okay? A 9-pound, like snuggly little fluffy puppy. And these kids are extraordinarily scared of my dog. And they just went and got a dog. Like, I'm like, what? How does that even work? They can't deal with a 9-pound dog. That's the nicest dog on the planet. They're going to get a dog right now. Well, that's because people just need something, right? They need something to get into.
I think there's that, and I also, because I actually have a couple of clients that are animal shelters, and I think to a certain extent, because they are seeing a boom right now in dog adoptions, people are saying, hey, we're stuck at home for a couple of weeks. This is a great time to adopt a dog because we now have time to house train the dog.
See,
yeah, I get that. I'm all for it too because I'm a big animal person, but when this thing's over and they get back out into the real world, I really hope they don't just kick the dog to the curb and don't care about it, or don't pay attention to it. These are maybe the wrong type of people, not dog people getting dogs. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see.
See, I'm the awful person that goes shortage on toilet paper, increase in dog purchases. Should we be worried for the poor dogs right now? In some way. So, so John, history. Did you ever imagine that you'd make history by becoming the first broadcaster to call a 2K game on radio, and how did it come about? I think that's where we left off. So,
yeah. That is good way to get us back
on track.
Engineer Greg. Here's what I think about the whole kind of timeline of this. I kind of feel like it was meant to happen because of like all the time I spent in my youth playing video games or being out on my driveway, calling play-by-play to whatever the heck I could do. Right? It's the quirkiness that was Jon Bloom as a kid, and it's still there. So I look at it. Maybe I got ready for it, but never did I anticipate calling a video game on the radio. I can't tell you honestly that I saw that happening. And so there was a lot of last minute cramming to figure out how we were even going to get it done. And it got brought up first by a group of my buddies. We were on a text chain, and they were like, "Why don't you call the action on Twitch? That would be awesome." I said, "Well, I don't think that's the right medium for it, because the people who go to Twitch to watch gamers want to hear the gamers trash talk. That's one of the big, nuances to what Twitch does, different than watching a game or sitting in a room watching a TV game. It's almost like sitting in that college dorm room I did with a group full of dudes, and people are just ripping on each other, playing either, it was probably NHL 94 back in the day, when the guy would bleed if you hit him hard enough.
Make little Wayne's head bleed.
Exactly. So it was that was my wheelhouse, right in the swingers wheelhouse. And, it was, that's how Twitch feels to me if it's done right, because you actually get the feel of the trash talking gamers on top of the actual game action. And you hear Kevin Harlan's call. So I was like, how's this even going to work with us trying to do a radio broadcast on top of all that? And then once they figured they could get us just a feed of the Nat sound, and here's a little behind the scenes for the solar panel that nobody else knows yet. The onus of why there was a bit of a fail in our broadcast was all on Mikkel, because he was supposed to go in on the controls and change it and remove Kevin Harlan and the announcer soundtrack in the setup as they got ready for tip-off, and he didn't do it. So we ended up having to, our engineer, Luke Robbins, killed it. He was riding the levels the whole game back in studio. So Tim and I both are on the phone. I'm on my phone right here in the office. Tim's on his phone. He actually got one of his kids to give him the gamer headset, which you might have, Tim. I'm not sure. But it looks kind of like that. I think that's what he was rocking, is one of those. And that's actually, you guys all are you've got the little time life situation.
Headsets, yes.
Yeah. Handy dandy. I need to get one for next time. But he got one of those last minute, and he calls me up. He's like, "Hey, do your kids have gamer headsets?" And I said, "No, they don't. They're not gamers. I'm the one who plays the Switch. They don't even touch it." So he's like, "Well, you could go in your neighborhood, find somebody who's got a gamer headset, because it's awesome." He was explaining to me why it was so good. I just use this thing like I'm using now, this little rinky-dinky headset.
Yeah, because what you want to do is go to some random person's house right now. Go, can you give me something that sits about 2 inches from your mouth that you spit on while you're using, so I can borrow that? That's exactly what you want to do in a time of pandemic. So,
and it lights all the heck out. It will be fine. I think it was all last minute. I'm trying to string my landline, because I wanted to have a landline so it wouldn't be my cell, dependent on my cell. Now, podcasting all day, we're cell phone. But landline, I'm trying to get it hooked up for this huge broadcast, historical.
You still have a landline?
Yeah, I still have one, amazingly. And I went into my garage and dug up a
Does your phone receiver have a cord on it? It's as a corded landline, the old style?
It might. We can bust it. I put it back above the fridge. It'll live there for another decade, probably. Hopefully. Let's hope we don't have any desperate measures that I need to get that thing out. It ended up failing anyway. I used the cell phone, and we tapped into like I said, we were both on phone lines, and then we got that feed from SAK Gaming, which is located in Tempe. I didn't know much about them, but Espo, I think you're familiar with them, maybe. There's some guys that have been in the industry in Phoenix for a while that are over there now. And they helped by sending us this feed that would allow us to watch the game direct without having to tap into Twitch or go around through a website, which would have delayed it, because we wanted to broadcast it as if it was live. And that worked out. That stuff actually all came together. I'm not too surprised that you can make something like this happen, though, to answer the historical element of this, because I have a little bit of it in my past, and I think Espo knows this, but I was the first guy to ever be the voice of a Division I network online only. We were the first ones to go online only broadcast. It was Oakland University. It was back in 1999. And we did, it was unheard of to take these massive boxes into a gym, a laptop, and set all these cords together just to get a dial-up situation to get online on the internet and broadcast. And the people listening would go through half-hour to 45-minute buffer sessions, probably 5 to 6 times a game. The game would last a day and a half. I don't even know how they listened to the game. It was only my parents. It was the family of the guys on the team at first. And then, we started to build a little bit of an audience with the as the school grew too, with the students back on campus. But what a great experience for me. I was basically, just a couple years older than the kids on the team. We were traveling together, and that was my first play-by-play gig as a professional. And we didn't get a lot of ink at the time. There's been some people talking about, hey, we should go back and do like a story about how this all came together. And now I just feel like this is another chapter in it. This is pretty cool to be able to do a video game. Totally different deal. That was real basketball. But at least, you mentioned it wasn't real basketball players. At least we had like real basketball players playing the game. I liked that more than I like these professional gamers. What do you think about that element?
Yeah, tell us what you thought of how Mikel did the game. I mean, in the first half, he really focused on getting it down to DeAndre Ayton and drawing fouls. Why can't it be like that in real life?
Well, though, to be fair, DeAndre Ayton does have the second highest usage percentage on the team, just behind Devin Booker, right around 25%.
Yeah, but he had him drawing fouls and getting to the
there.
He got Embiid in foul trouble in like the first 3 minutes of the game. Embiid had 4 fouls. Kevin and I didn't know what to do with it. We're like, why is he leaving? Why is Matisse Thybulle leaving Embiid on the floor? He's going to foul him out in the first quarter. And so once he finally pulled him, I mean, it's almost like he got Embiid out of the way a lot of the times. And DA just had easy pickings, and he piled up a bunch of points. He had 21 points, I think, in the first half. Ayton did. And Mikel didn't go to him in the second half, I think partially because he was spent. And that's something that happens in video games when, maybe I'm going to, again, a hat tip to the folks who make 2K to be able to try to make a game lifelike. You shouldn't be able to have DA have a usage rate of 89.2, Tim Tompkins, but that's probably what it felt for him. And I think that, then it hurt him in his energy rate, and he wasn't as effective in the second half.
Let's be honest, not giving the ball
they gave him a real energy rate.
well, hey, not giving the ball to DeAndre Ayton in the second half is very realistic too. So
I mean, hey, we actually, John, we have a question from a YouTube listener right now, or watcher, I guess I should say. Fabio, he says, is John going to broadcast Devin Booker playing Call of Duty?
Ooh, I'd have to really get like a full, tutorial on Call of Duty, because that's one thing with me in gaming. I've only been a sports gamer. I've never really, other than like early days, Pitfall, Donkey Kong, Pac-Man, those old school. Like other than that, I've really just been about hoops, football, a little bit of baseball, and definitely golf. Always because I'm just a golf geek in general.
I can just imagine Bloomer calling Devin Booker in Call of Duty. He fires again, and he shot the gun again. Look at that.
His shooting percentage is amazing.
If it's like lacrosse, I could do it. Shot and a score. I could say that with the best of them, but I just didn't know the rules when I used to call lacrosse games. It's kind of like Call of Duty. If you get a kill, I can nail that one.
So John, best video basketball game of all time.
Oh man, there's some because like if I think about the ones I played the most, maybe Double Dribble. We played the heck out of Double Dribble on the original Nintendo system.
NBA Street. You ever play that?
Yes. But the most fun I've had is probably NBA Jam. It's not a real basketball game, but I got to go with NBA Jam. And Espo, you and I have played NBA Jam together. Yeah, the big going away party. So, or just, thanks for your effort party, whatever it happened to be. That was
get a good party. I think it was called "Get the Hell Out of Here" party. I think was they were throwing me out back in the day.
So let me ask you another question about Mikel being the guy running that game yesterday. Should we start a controversy because he didn't use Devin Booker hardly at all?
But Booker closed the deal. He knew when it was crunch time and he had to get the job done and win that game.
But he completely ignored Booker most of the game, though. I mean, is this a problem between the two of them? We should start this rumor.
No.
No.
Look, I'll tell you that back my final season with the team, I played Devin Booker in NBA 2K for a video on Suns.com. And Devin wasn't even getting, wasn't even going to be part of the rotation to start the season, right? and he played himself all 48 minutes, shot the ball the entire time, like didn't give it to Bledsoe or anybody else on the roster. So I think guys just play 2K. Oh, he beat me by like 70 points. Like it was ridiculous. You can actually still watch it on the internet. It's pretty bad. I actually think, I'm sitting here with Let me see if it's here. Yes, I don't know if you guys will be able to see this, but this is me and Devin Booker playing 2K at training camp that year. So
is that your son?
No, that was me back when I was younger and thinner, and and Booker
That's
back
your
before
high metabolism teenage
yes,
son. I don't know.
That was back in the day,
that.
but that was So guys, the point is, guys tend to not exactly follow real rotations or usage rates in those games because Booker, I swear, shot 80 times before he was even in the rotation with the Suns. So,
and you know what? Look, I think if you ask Mikel, there's no doubt that he tried to go to himself a bunch during that game to make a point that he could get it done. And then he's even tweeting after the fact, trash talking Matisse, that Matisse's stat line was such garbage. And Mikel had 15 points in the game, made some huge shots. So with himself, you could tell that was a big focal point for him. And I was curious going in, like, is he really going to try to light it up as Mikal Bridges, or is he going to let Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton do the majority of damage? And like we talked about, DA was the guy in the beginning, but in the end, it was definitely Mikal. And Elliot Kobo, too. That's the thing. Like, should teams use a guy on a bench at the end of a game who's got all his juice, who could beat everybody up and down the floor? Because that's what Mikal did. Nobody could stop Elliot Kobo because he had 100% energy at the end of the game, and he was making layup after layup.
Yeah, but
it's too bad we can't get the real Elliot Kobo to be like that.
Well, the problem is if you sit on the bench in real life for an entire game and then you try to come in, you're not warm. In video games, it's like that they don't take that into account that you're not warm. He comes in a video game and can outrun everybody. You do that in real life, you're probably pulling a hammy because you sat there for 46 minutes before you actually got off the bench. You'd Kevin Johnson
have a little warm up area. You got to have a warm-up area like they do in soccer, where the guys are doing the warm-ups on the sidelines. My daughter is a bench player in soccer. And look, if the best players in soccer, a lot of these guys are like the snipers that come in the last 5 minutes of the game, fresh, and they come off the bench. And a lot of them, the substitutions get goals. It's just a matter of fact. It happens in soccer. So in basketball, I'm curious, could any coach out there try this approach and just keep a secret weapon on the end of the bench at the end of each half? Bring that guy in fully ready to go. Let him run around a little bit on the sideline, loosen up so he doesn't pull that hammy. I get that element, but yeah, I'd love to see that.
Kind of sounds like Jimmer Fredette. Just keep him warm, bring him off the bench in the fourth quarter, and have him take 10 shots in the final 2 minutes when your star player is 1 point away from setting a record.
I mean, that guy, those names, like those two names together, for me, something so different before that game than they have meant since. You know what I'm saying? Like, that Jimmer Fredette was this amazing scorer to watch at BYU, and he even played some games here in the Valley, and I remember him lighting it up in a couple here in like the Jerry Colangelo tournament. But then that night, for him to be so boneheaded and step all over what was going to be another 60-point performance of virtuosity by our guy Devin Booker. Yeah. Now, Jimmer Fredette is like a curse word. It's like it's almost in the same category as Robert Horry and Bruce Bowen and all these other like they're all curse words on Planet Orange. Those are all like forbidden words.
Yeah, but you know what's sad is all those guys were curse words because of what they did to the Suns in the playoffs. We've been in such it's been 10 years that it's a guy on our own team that stopped a guy from scoring 60 that has now entered the curse word world.
March game or April game, completely meaningless.
So, Bloom, are there any other plans to call additional 2K games on the radio? And if so, can you please let Tim Kempton know that you can't complain to the virtual refs because they can't hear you?
Well, most places we're sitting calling games, the real refs can't hear us either. So, but yeah, no, he's going to stay Tim Kempton, man. That's how he rolls, and I'm not going to change that. There's no way
I did like
that's
that
going to
one
change.
time he goes, "Can we get these refs in real life? They actually call fouls."
Well,
I
in
know
all
it was
fairness,
tight
the
at the end,
refs
yeah.
do call fouls against the Suns all the time. It's. Hey,
So-
John, did you happen to watch our last episode to put you on the spot? Because I want to give you some of the grades that we came up with and kind of get your take on whether or not you would have agreed with our takes.
Yeah, full disclosure, I consumed it. Most of it was while I was grilling, so I was listening, and I heard the grades that you guys gave out. Putting me on the spot to give grades to guys I got to get on a bus with is a little tricky. But
Yeah. Let's
we can
Bloom's
let
gonna
you
go, A.
Bloom. We can let you go before we get to the grading part. That's fine. We don't want to put you in an awkward position, but any additional broadcasts coming up that of 2K games that we should be aware of, or was this a one-time experiment for you guys?
I hope it was just the start. If we're going to really be quarantined for a while and real basketball doesn't come back, I'll do this as much as they want to do it, man. Let's do a whole season of it. I don't know. We'll see. I know everybody's looking for content. So, if it's a doable thing, which we proved last night that it is, even kind of last minute. And incidentally, I want to give credit where it's due to a couple folks that helped make this happen. I think that Doug Chisholm was the guy who first called me to ask me if I was interested in doing it. And when I told him 100%, and then I didn't hear from him for a few days, and I was doing my own kind of research about Twitch and how it would even work. And then we all kind of pulled it together with the help of Dean Stoyer and Allison Harissis over in the content team, and Rod Lake and Ryan Hatch with 98.7 FM, pulling it together. And I already mentioned Luke Robbins, my guy who was in there with all the dials. So now that we got that dialed in, I hope we do it again. And one other thing I want to throw, since I'm out there on the social panel, I'm going to actually give you guys a homework assignment. Because I've been playing around with this little home project I'm doing. I told Espo about it, actually. On the phone. And, part of what I do in addition to sports, I love music and I love to play music. I'm not a great musician by any stretch, but I rewrote the words to a Modest Yahoo song called One Day. And it's for Planet Orange. It's for Suns fans. My whole hope is to just do something that we can be proud about and rally around. And maybe, when they do win the championship, this will become the viral song. Who knows? But I want to get everybody who's like in on Planet Orange to be involved, because it's going to be a music video. So I'm going to pick a lyric. Instead of what I initially did was I just kind of threw a vague Twitter invite out to anybody who can carry a tune or play an instrument or wants to be involved to DM me. But I still want you to hit me up on Twitter at Jon Bloom if you're interested. Even if you can't carry a tune, there's parts and ways we can make this work. It's just going to be a fan video of us kind of rallying together. And since we're all at home, we all have phones that can take videos. It's pretty easy to do. We're doing it right now on Skype, but you can just snap up a video and then put it on the Dropbox link that I'm going to give you once you connect with me on Twitter. And this will give me a project to work on.
Are you the Suns' Gal Gadot? Is that it? We're all going to sing one line from a song, and you're going to splice it together? Yeah,
I mean, the difference with Gal, though, I'm going to give Gal credit for being a lot of things. But the one thing that my girl Gal isn't is she didn't have the creative juices of rewriting lyrics. This was just kind of singing a song we all know. I've actually rewritten the lyrics. So this hits home with Suns fans. This is strictly for Suns fans. The whole world isn't necessarily going to appreciate what we're doing here. But, I'm looking out for the people that I'm around, that I share this commonality with. We all had a little bit of crazy in us, because if you stuck around, you had to. And, I hope that we can have fun with it. Like I said, that's what it's about. In this time, I know we can donate. And Dave, what you're doing with Brightside is awesome. And you never fail to have the right mindset when it it comes to helping people. And I love that about you and what you guys do over there with your crew. So people definitely use your pocketbooks, because that makes a difference in the world. But there's another thing that I think makes a difference in the world, and that's helping people's mentals. Can I use a Marshawn Lynch for you? You help people's mentals in a lot of different ways.
Because they're missing their chicken.
Yeah, right. Well, the chicken's tough to get. It's off the shelves. But, you know, one thing is when you're struggling mentally, and we all have to be in some frame right now. I mean, if you're not, I don't even know, because you're not human, maybe. But we're all battling this together. So one thing I like to do is make people laugh. I'm a clown, and I've always been a clown. And so, you know, that's why I think this is going to, you know, be able to at least help me do that in some form, because it's not just music. It's also there's some good-natured, you know, comic relief involved in what we're doing here. So hopefully we can execute it. Thank you to anybody who's listening or watching the solar panel who wants to be involved. And thanks to you guys for keep pumping out this content, what you're doing. I'll be watching, you know it.
So we just
I would love to be in your video.
Yeah, so we just DM you to get what our line will be, and then film it and send it to you. Is that the way it works, Jon?
Yeah, I think it'd be awesome to even set it up. Like, I'm looking at a view of the three of you right now, and I don't know if that's possible on Skype to just record something. But we get the three solar panel hosts locking it down together, or if I get three separate, I'll give you each a line. You know, and we'll make it work. That might, yeah.
Jon, do us a favor. We actually can do it. I don't want to do it live on the show though. So in the Skype chat, just Skype chat or send us a DM on Twitter, and after we get done recording, we'll go ahead and record that, clip it, and then send it to you.
Perfect. All right, let's do it.
Yeah, it sounds fun. Thanks, man.
Because you want 3 tone deaf dudes in your music video. Get ready for it. Jon, thank you for joining us. We'll let you go before we do any damage to your career. So and we look forward to hearing you on another 2K radio broadcast sometime soon, my friend.
You guys should talk about actually playing out 2K with some old good Suns teams, you know? Wouldn't that be great to like have the SSOL Suns against one of their rivals like the Spurs, and see how it actually plays out on 2K with, that'd be fun. Could be different endings.
That's great idea, first of all. And as they were flipping through setting up the teams last night before the game, Matisse Thybulle kind of by accident flipped back a spot, and it went from this year's Philadelphia 76ers to the all-time great 76ers team. So it was Dr. J. It was everybody, And I said, oh, that'd be awesome, right? If they went old school and played the classic teams. But these guys want to play with themselves. So why not get Steve Nash to play with the 7 seconds or less team? I don't know if Nash has got any skills on the sticks. Got to put him to the test, but
I'm sure at least one of those guys does.
In self-quarantine, There's a lot of people that want to play with themselves. On that note, Bloom, we'll let you go, and we'll catch up with you soon, my friend.
Take it easy, guys.
All right, guys. So Tim
walked out.
Tim walked. Well, I was going to say, because he attempted to destroy Jon Bloom's career by having him grade players that he calls games with. That could have been been unique.
That guy gets a D.
Yeah. Elliot Kobo. I mean, he goes full solar panel on a guy the way we tend to do, and all of a sudden he's not calling games anymore. But it was fun.
While Tim's out of the room, let me do one more plug for the donations and the giveaways. So I've been very fortunate. We have a really great community here at Bright Side of the Sun. We do raise money to give special things to other people. Usually it's underprivileged kids getting tickets to their first Suns game. This time it's going toward people who have lost a lot of money, who are out of work and can't pay their bills and need help making ends meet. We are raising funds. Go to brightsideofthesun.com. Across the top banner, you can make a donation. You can also nominate somebody. You can nominate yourself if you want to. You can nominate somebody else or a business that's struggling that you really want to make sure gets through to the other side of this pandemic. So go to brightsideofthesun.com. the top banner says donate, so it shows you where to donate. You click through that, you can see all your options. It doesn't take very long, and it doesn't take much money. You can make a huge difference in someone's life, because I'll put it to good use by giving it to someone who really needs it. And I also have been going on Twitter and different mediums to get people to actually to find people who really need this the most. So if you want to nominate someone, if you want to nominate yourself, and if you want to donate some money, all in the same place, just go to brightsideofthesun.com, top banner says donate now, click on that, and you'll see what you can do. So I really appreciate it. We've raised almost $2,000 so far in various donations through different mediums, through the GoFundMe site, as well as through getting checks from people and stuff, old school. We've done a really good job on that, and I've given out most of it already as well. That's felt really good, because it's made a big difference for people. So let's keep this going, because these folks are not suddenly okay now. They're really not. This package to the $2 trillion, only a little bit of it is going to regular people, and it's only a one-time payment. These people need this money to survive. They need money now. They need it next month. They need it the month after that. Yep. So we're going to keep this campaign going, and I hope you guys contribute.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're likely in this for the long haul. So if you have the ability, I highly recommend donating to the cause, and what Dave's doing. As Bloomer said, I always appreciate the charitable side of what Brightside and what Dave does. So thank you for that. As much as I like to clown on you, Dave, I never can when it comes to this stuff, because it comes from a great place, and I truly appreciate that you do this. So go out there, head to brightsideofthesun.com, click on that banner, donate what you can. Every little bit will help. So.
All right. Super cool, Jon, to come on. By the way, always great to chat with Jon. One of my favorite Suns human beings on the planet.
Yeah, no offense, but he's my favorite podcast host I've ever worked with as well. So you guys finished tied for second, but Bloomer is a special human being. So
everyone else is tied for second that you've been on with.
All right, so let's none taken. By the way, I would probably do the same if I had podcasted with him. Usage rate. Excuse me. Let me start this over again. Tim, stat of the week.
Stat of the week.
I was waiting for the horn.
It's playing. There you go.
No. Usage rate. So usage rate is the percentage of a team plays used by a player while he was on the floor, but specifically ending a possession with that player either with a shot, a turnover, or getting to the line. Contrary to popular belief, it has nothing to do with how many times a player touches the ball in a specific possession. For example, Rubio could bring the ball up the court every single play and have a 0% usage rate, right? So this season, Devin Booker led the team in usage rate. No surprise, usually does, with 29.5%, followed by Ayton at 24.3%. But on the lower end of the spectrum, Jonah Bolden and Mikal Bridges bottomed out the bottom two with 11.5 and 12.4% respectively.
Which is makes the point as to why Mikal Bridges offensively doesn't look as impressive, is because he's just not utilized as much as other guys from that standpoint. So
part of it also is he passes the ball off too. I mean, he's not aggressive in getting a shot.
That's fair.
He touches the ball as much on probably a similar number of possessions as most of the team. It's just that he passes the ball on, and that the way Tim described it earlier shows that doesn't count.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's fair.
Essentially. So we're doing grades. We're continuing our season where, we're going to give grades so far for the season. Hopefully it starts back up at some point. Really, who the hell knows? To give you guys a reminder of how we're doing it, we are doing it on a grade letter, A, B, C, D, or F. And I want to let you know how we are deciding this right here. So an A, if we give someone an A, it is nearly perfect, but that also means that they far exceeded our expectations. So again, these grades are really determined by our expectations of what the player was going to be this season. A B, B is good. That means they exceeded our expectations. A C is just fine. And that means they did exactly what we thought they were going to do. And I think this is going to be pretty important when I give my grade for Devin Booker. D would be a disappointing season, worse than we expected. And an F would be get this mofo off of the team. They were terrible.
So Tim's giving Devin Booker an F is what he's trying to prepare you for.
Basically.
Next time we do this, we're doing emojis as the grades rather than letters, just to spice it up. All right.
I'm totally okay.
None of
with
us
that.
know the actual names of these emojis. Though.
No, I just give Eliakobo the chocolate yogurt swirl is what Eliakobo would get.
So last week we did power forwards and centers. If you guys missed the episodes, we gave Frank Kaminsky the highest grade of anybody on the team so far out of those two positions.
So deal with it.
Well, that's a good example of context.
Yes.
Context on that is definitely that he was the one who exceeded expectations the most.
Right, 100%. So let's start this off with shooting guards. Tyler Johnson, last season. 8.1 PER. He averaged 16.6 minutes a game, 6 points, 1.6 assists per game. He shot 38% from the field. The team was 8 points worse with him on the court per 100 possessions. He played in 31 games, started 3, and he did not make a top 20 in any category in the NBA. Dave, let's start this off with you.
Oh man, he's about the most disappointing player I've seen play for the Suns this year. Of course, there's been disappointing players in prior years. The Suns actually, I was just looking at it this morning. They have, they were so much better this year than they have been in several prior years. So sometimes players get lost in that. But Tyler Johnson had a special kind of awful year. I think even he would give himself an F on this year. Get the mofo off the team. I mean, he's such a nice guy. He should have been able to stay on the team just from being such a good locker room presence and all that. So I don't know about the F part. I'm going to give him a D or a D minus if we can go minuses on this. I think he was just terrible. Real disappointment. So, but I wouldn't do the F, even though he did get released. Clearly his knee was bothering him a lot this year, and I don't know if he's just waiting it out or what, but he didn't play well at all. So I'll give him a D.
How can you give him anything but an F? James Jones said get the mofo off the team. Right. Like by the definition of these grades, he got an F. He's not on the team anymore. He gets an F. I'm not even going to analyze it. He just gets an F.
I don't disagree. I had him pegged as an F2. By far the most disappointing player for me this season was Tyler Johnson, especially given the fact who his competition was as the backup point guard. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, I mean that could have been
honestly
that could have been the difference between if he had played even close to the guy he was when he first got acquired. That could have been the difference in those 4 or 5 games that were the separation between the 8th seed and where the Suns sit. We don't know if they'll resume, but where they sit and where they may have finished is that difference in play by Tyler Johnson at the backup point guard, because everybody was suboptimal there. If he had just played average, it could have changed the tide on things.
I mean, hell, if he just would have played below average.
Well, they had plenty of guys playing below average. So
I mean, he wasn't just bad. He was
definitely awful. Definitely awful. I still want to give him a D though, because he is such a good locker room presence.
And this is interesting. So the other shooting guard on the roster is Devin Booker, and I think that when when we are discussing what the Suns need to do this offseason, the fact that they only had those 2 players in those positions is pretty important. So let's go ahead and do Devin Booker. Devin Booker this season, 19.8 PER, 26 points, 6.6 assists, 4 rebounds, 36% from 3. The Suns were 6 points better with him on the court per 100 possessions. He played in 62 games. Of course, he started all 62. In the top 20 in the NBA, he was second in the league for total minutes played at 2,241. He was ninth in the league for total field goals made at 544. He was fourth in the league for total free throws at 405. He was 13th in the league for total assists at 408. He was third in the league for turnovers at 244. No surprising given how much he had the ball. Personal fouls, he was 15th in the league at 188. Points, total points, 1,619 for sixth most in the league. Free throw percentage, he was second at 91.6%. Minutes per game, he was fourth at 36.4. Points per game, he was 10th. Obviously, said that already, 26.1. Usage percentage, he was 18th at 29.5. And offensive win shares, he was 14th at 4.8. Espo, let's start with you.
I'm going to give him... I struggle here because of the way we set.
Can I ask why you already have our grades on the sheet here, Tim? How do you know what I'm going to give?
Honestly, it was an accident. I didn't know that was on there already.
I struggle with this based on the criteria that we sent it up, because everything in me says Devin Booker was an A player this year, but that means he had to have exceeded our expectations. And if he had hit the handful of game winners that he had the opportunity to, I likely would put him in that A range. Right, or
even
now.
Half of them.
Yes. He didn't have to hit all of them, but if he had hit them at a much higher clip than 0, I would have put him in the A range. I would give him a B. If we were doing pluses and minuses, it would be a B plus. He did continue to grow his game, which I wasn't sure that we'd still see that. I thought we may have gotten too close to peak Devin Booker the previous season. So I'm going to give him a B plus if we could do pluses.
Yep. Dave.
This is actually a tough one to call for me. Hold on one sec while I make sure I have a clear throat.
Hey, Dave learned how to mute. Woohoo!
Yeah, sorry. This is a tough one for me because I did expect a lot. I expected a lot from Devin Booker. However, I did not expect him to actually make the All-Star game. I expected him to play well enough to be deserving of the All-Star game, more so than the year before. This year, he didn't get voted into the All-Star game, but he definitely, because only the top 2 at each position were voted in each conference, were voted in by anyone other than coaches, and the coaches vote in winning players who've been in the playoffs. That's just what they do. So, and repeats who had been there the year before. So Devin Booker did not make it the traditional way, and that pissed him off. But he did set historic numbers to qualify and to look like he was the top snub. And then when there was an injury, he actually got named in. So that exceeded my expectations. The fact that he was the top snub, clearly the top snub in the West, and that he was a shoo-in to become that injury replacement, and he should have been in there the whole time. I've got to say that exceeds expectations. So on one hand, I want to say he didn't exceed expectations because I expected him to play at an all-star caliber level. On the other hand, he did exceed expectations by actually getting there and having such a great, like, mid-December to mid-January that it was just unbelievable how good he was playing. So I'll give him a B. I'll definitely give him a B. The scoring is based on our expectations, not on their play. On their play, he got an A, but he got an A the year before. I would have to give him a B because of the expectations factor.
Yeah. I actually had him as a C, but Dave, I really like your argument to him not only playing at the all-star caliber level to get him into the conversation, but actually making that to where he was the top snub, where he had that opportunity to make the all-star game. Giving him a C plus is my expectations of Devin Booker are so incredibly high. He is the face of the franchise. He is a max player. He is an incredible player. He's still young. I expected him to get a little bit better. I'm not surprised in the areas in which he got better. I thought he played really well next to and with Rubio. But he didn't, he did what I expected him to do by being a great player.
I want to give him a ton of credit at the beginning of the year too. in that he played the entire season within the system, and it started from day one. Monty Williams. Now let's just a quick high-level recap. The Suns this year had their best offense in actually team history. Of course, all teams are playing some of their best offense in franchise history, just because the way offenses are being played these days. So in terms of efficiency, but they had. Let's see. Actually, no, sorry. They didn't have their best offense. They had their best offense in a decade. They were obviously better with Steve Nash in there. So they had the best offense in a decade, their best defense in half a dozen years, their highest pace in history. That was the one I had in my brain. Sorry. They played their fastest basketball in history, and they had more wins than any season since they came out of those Morai years. So I think we should be really happy with how Devin Booker played within the system that was successful, that Monty Williams, one of the reasons that system was so successful is because Monty Williams got all the players to play their roles. And Ricky Rubio had his best year since the Utah years, as far as statistically. And then Devin Booker had his best year, even though it was kind of a slight step back from the year before, because he needed to have a slight step back, not a big one, but a slight one. DeAndre Ayton had a great year in the few games that he played. I think Monty Williams really showcased these guys right, and Devin Booker bought in. So that also contributes to my B, in that he met expectations from my point of view on how he played within the system and how impressive he was fitting in the system the entire year. He never even went for 50-point games this year because that was not part of the game plan.
This is a first year where Devin Booker led the team in win shares.
Yeah, and it makes a huge difference. Yes, exactly. So for that reason, I give him a B.
You guys remember when Teletovic led the team in win shares?
Yes, and in beautiful hair. The man had good hair.
Hilarious, man.
By the way, Tim,
this year all these guys are like outdoing Teletovic's hair for sure.
Tim, can you give me just one clean line of you saying the grade that you're giving Devin Booker?
No.
Because that's the way we're promoting this episode, is Tim gives Devin Booker a C. And that's how we're going to promote it.
You might as well. I mean, everybody else on Sun's Twitter shits on me. Why not just keep that going, right? All right, small forward. I legitimately had to make my... Man. No, it's true.
Sometimes you got to play Sometimes you got to play the heel and just accept it. All right.
Quite literally had to make my tweets private. Small forward. Mikal Bridges. We're going to start there. I realize he played a lot of the season at power forward. We got these positions officially from Basketball Reference, who Dave has mentioned a lot of times actually does it by size of the player. It doesn't matter. Anyway, for this exercise...
Didn't we do Mikal last week?
No.
I could have sworn we talked about Mikal last week because I said...
I saw Greg's lips moving and nothing coming out. So I thought we lost his audio, but it was just him being speechless.
All right. No, you're right. All right, so then power.
Thank you. I'm not going crazy. I am because I'm stuck inside, but I'm not because of this. So,
what did we give him?
Let's see. Last week we gave Mikal Bridges. Dave, you gave him a C. Greg gave him an A, and I gave him a B.
Thank you.
That's a range. That's actually a pretty good range amongst three people. C, A, and B. Usually we're a little closer than that.
Yeah. So Kelly Oubre, then, he's going to be the only small forward this week. 14.9 PER, 18.7 points. He was the third leading scorer behind Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton for the Suns. 6.4 rebounds, 1.5 assists, 1.3 steals, 0.7 blocks, 35% from three. The Suns were 2.7 points better with him on the court per 100 possessions. He played in 56 games. He started in 55. In the top 20 in the league. Personal fouls, he was 14th at 192, and turnover percentage at 8.2% for 19th in the league.
Is that like 19th lowest or 19th highest turnover rate?
Highest.
Highest?
Turnover percentage.
So the only two things he qualified for in the top 20 of the league were negative stats, committed and turnovers.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I get crap when I question his game. So all
No,
right
no.
then.
Here's the thing. Kelly Oubre, he was doing this thing this year where he would just run into
Head
two or
down.
three guys, head
Yeah.
down, and try and dunk it and get and
With
turn
the
the ball
ball
over.
below his waist somehow.
Right. It, so I don't fault him necessarily for those types of turnovers because they aren't arrogant passes. He's not doing these cross court passes that are getting picked off that you shouldn't do. And I agree that sometimes it would be nice in those situations if he would have just passed the ball.
How do you not blame a guy who puts his head down, runs into three people, and loses the ball? It's
Because
just as bad as a cross-court pass.
Because the Suns need somebody on that damn team to do that. And although it would be irritating, nobody else on the team was really that type of player. And there is an intrinsic amount of value from having a player that does not give a damn and will barrel into guys and make them be honest at defending the rim. So I do think that it has a little bit of value.
So lowered
to
expectations.
To Kelly's credit, the barreling into three guys at the left side of the halfway down the free throw line there, he did that like constantly for the first month, and then he really didn't do that much in the final month of the season. He learned, and that's some of that is coaching and watching film and all that and seeing how it happened. But he got to a point where he was really predictably going to get to the same exact spot on the floor with both feet on the ground and the ball below his waist in two hands, ready to gather and do something. And the defenses knew that, and three different guys from three different angles could get there without fouling him and slap that ball away. So, but he did change that, and he wasn't doing that by the end of the his part of the season before he got hurt. So I give him big credit for that. And frankly, I'm just going to go ahead and give my grade. I think he deserves an A for the year because he really, really did exceed expectations.
Dave's dying there, so I'll hop in.
I don't know what the hell's going on this morning. I've been good lately.
It's just
not Corona.
It's just old man. It's just old man. Don't worry about it.
Whatever.
That's life. You're fine until you get on a mic. That's how it works.
So
anyway, let me finish. Hold on. So Kelly putting up the 18.7 points and 6.4 rebounds. I really thought that was going to be an unachievable number for him this year. When I came into the year, I actually predicted on the Timeline podcast. We did some of the superlatives, the guesses, just random guesses, and I actually guessed that Kelly might be the most disappointing person this year on the team because he had such high expectations scoring that $30 million 2-year contract. And I thought he wouldn't be able to live up to him. I thought he would kind of fade into the woodwork again and become a bench player. And people were clamoring he should be coming off the bench because Mikal Bridges does everything quietly and secretly, and nobody knew what he did. But all of a sudden, the team is so much better with him not doing anything. And so Kelly, I thought, would end up coming off the bench and then being a little disappointed and disgruntled and everything. It was the exact opposite. He had a great year. He was the spiritual leader of the team, the energetic leader of the team. Even when he's driving into three guys below the foul line with the ball at his hips and trying to gather and he gets it stripped, even then, that was high energy that team needed. He would make up for it with good defensive plays, even though you'd forget about the bad defensive plays. He'd make some good, interesting, spectacular defensive plays. He had great dunks. He would shot 48% on clutch threes. 48%. The rest of the team averaged 20%. It was just unbelievably bad, the rest of the team, on shooting clutch threes. Kelly Oubre, 48%. So I really think he exceeded expectations by far this year. And I can't give him a grade other than A. I thought he did a great job.
So I'm probably going to surprise the group with my grade. I have been critical of Kelly Oubre throughout the year and even a few minutes ago on this episode, but I think he was a B. I mean, and a solid B. This guy, I like to dub him the human exclamation point, right? Because he just was excitement personified. Whenever this team needed it, whenever there was a moment where it felt like their shoulders had slumped and that things were about to turn for the worse, Kelly Oubre would make a play that got not only the fans back into the game, but got his teammates engaged and excited again in the game.
The push-ups.
And regardless, the head bob, all those kind of things. Just it got the team going in ways that no coach speak or anything like that would do. I give him an immense amount of credit for that. Dave, you touched on the clutch threes. There were a lot of those moments where you're like, no, oh yeah, okay, great, great shot with him late in games, because he just became so automatic with those. Where Devin Booker missed a lot in those late game situations, Kelly Oubre made a lot where you didn't expect him to, and kept the Suns in some of those last minutes of games with his play. So as much as I think and give the fan base a hard time for some irrational love with this guy and kind of ignoring some of the flaws, it's hard to deny that he has a great impact on the floor with what he does. He can score, and you can overlook some of those other flaws when you're looking at in totality and giving a grade like this, because he does have such an impact. So I'm a very solid B with Kelly Oubre for this year.
Kelly Oubre is hands down, and it's not even close, my favorite rebounder in the game. And he has really inspired how I personally rebound the ball when I'm playing pickup. He's such a good rebounder for his position, and I don't think that should be overlooked, especially coming from years of having TJ Warren, who, big fan of TJ Warren, not a very good rebounder at that position. I think the point that Greg made earlier about Kelly Oubre being clutch, it was something I was tweeting out a lot during the season, but I wanted Kelly Oubre to be the one taking the final shot, because I think that he proved over the course of the season that he really shines in those moments, whereas other players on the roster who would often get those shots didn't necessarily, and also shine in those, but also them getting those shots became a bit more predictable. So not only is Devin Booker not excellent at clutch shooting, the defenses don't make it any easier for him to get that final shot off. That being said, I had pretty high expectations for Kelly Oubre going into the season, so I graded him a B-, which is lower than you two guys, but I really believed that what we saw the season prior, he was going to be able to continue doing from an impact on the court standpoint. But he did exceed expectations being clutch. The only real area where he was not as good as I expected was in those lineups where he was the only starter along with the bench, and he really had an opportunity to shine offensively. And I think that we saw that he's not excellent at getting his own shot a lot of the time. So that was slightly below, but yeah, I had him as a B-.
I think those are fair grades. I think we're all impressed with just the fact that Kelly did a little bit better than we thought he might, and that's good.
All right, so let's recap the shorter grades we gave. Tyler Johnson, Dave gave a D-, I gave an F, Greg gave an F. Devin Booker, Dave gave a B, Greg gave a B+, I gave a plus. Kelly Oubre, Dave gave an A, Greg gave a B, and I gave a B-. This brings us to our final segment of the show, gentlemen. Something that Greg has been working incredibly hard on. It's been really fun to watch. But the Ring of Dishonor... Has it been incredibly hard?
Hey, it's been something. Everything right now is kind of we're in the world we live in. It's marginally entertaining for everybody. It's the Donkey Tweet 16 as we march towards the first member of the solar panel Donkey Ring of Dishonor. First round is in the books. We're into the Egregious 8. We're going to launch that this morning. Bracket is up on my Twitter at Espo. The only upset in the first round was the 2-15 matchup. So a big upset here. Number 2 seed, Dana Scott over at, I believe, AZ Central had tweeted, could Monty Williams eventually become the New York Knicks' prodigal son, returning to where he began his NBA career? It was an article talking about, and I actually believe it was a Dwayne Rankin article, but an article talking about how Monty Williams may leave the Suns to go to the Knicks. And it was defeated by the number 15 seed at @FearTheFork_ASU, who tweeted, the entire team is garbage, Booker's not a star, and Ayton is a bust. So that was our biggest upset in the round of 16 in the Donkey Tweet 16 tournament.
15 beat 2.
15 beat 2. Every other regular seed, higher seed, won their matchup. So we're in the egregious 8. We'll march towards the finals, which my hope, I believe, is to try to have our finals matchup for next Saturday's episode, where we can announce who's in the finals, discuss what that looks like, and crown a champion a week from Monday in the Tweet 16.
So who do we got left, Greg? Do you have
I do. I have the bracket right here as I unprofessionally look down at my phone while on camera. We have the number 1
That's okay.
seed.
We're looking down all the time.
The number 1 seed at True_Rise versus the number 8 seed Camella 12. The number 4 seed Scout with Brian. Everybody loves our friend Scout with Brian, the man who's blocked by most of us, versus at SI Now, the number 5 seed. And then, this is a barn burner in the 3-6 matchup. You've got Dwayne Rankin, the number 3 seed, versus the number 6 seed, Bill Simmons. That should be a fun one. My guess is we're going to see an upset there, but this is a battle of the Titans in terms of particular egregious tweets. Not that either. I actually enjoy the writing and the work of both of these guys. Just happen to be egregious tweets there, so that should be a good one. And then the odd 7-15 matchup in a tournament at TCOP22 versus at FearTheFork_ASU, the 15 seed, who made the big first round upset. So that's what we're looking at. You can read all their tweets on and voting in that egregious 8. Those 4 matchups will go live this morning and tomorrow morning. We'll do those. So we'll move into the I don't even know what we're going to call the Final Four. I'll come up with some ridiculous name early next week. So.
And so on that note, next week coming up on our next scheduled as of now episode, which will be Saturday morning, make sure that you are joining us live.
We might
7
do
a.m.
another
Arizona
Wednesday
time.
solar party.
Right. So the next scheduled one that we have, we are going to be grading the point guards on the team, Monty Williams and Robert Sarver. So that should be a lot of fun. And make sure you follow Espo on Twitter at Espo in order to vote in the Ring of Dishonor bracket.